Good evening, I'm the Professor, and welcome to my YouTube video. Today we're going to do one about the up-and-coming 3 new heroes that are going to be coming out in Season 4. Lagurtha, Belisarius, and Elizibeth. So I'm going to have a more in-depth guide for each one of these things later on, as the ones I've done previously. For now, though, just an overview of the new heroes, what to expect. Now, the most important hero is going to be Belisarius. Let's call him Dinosaurus or something. Now, this hero here, which as you can see in the wheel, is coming out. Now, this hero here, he is going to be big. I'm going to make predictions here that this is going to be the meta in Season 4. So, where you're going to have 2 armies. Your Belisarius and your Lubu. These are basically going to be the meta in the future. This is like the Professor making a very, very strong prediction here. You're going to be seeing people running Lubu, Guan Yu, and Rani, alongside Belisarius, Ashoka, and Hannibal. And the 2 cavalry units in tandem are going to be wrecking stuff. Really important. Now, it's also explains why, the pikemen that are coming out are also going to be important, because they're going to counter these. You're going to see a lot of value out of them, surely because this is now going to become so powerful of a thing. Well, first off, why? Well, let's go back up and just quickly go here. I'll have a link in the description here that'll lead to the page here where you can find all these stats for yourself. But for now, just a couple quick ones. He's got his strategy stat with the different ranks here. 561 is what we're expecting here for your 5-star or thereabouts. Gems will make it higher. But that's going to give you a 1.69 modifier. His commander skill isn't all that great. There's not a whole lot to write home about. So it's got a 250 rage cost, whatever. It's 2 targets, 350. So total is 700. If you hit a single target, it's a 650 there. This, in comparison to Lubu's signature one, is Lubu does 240, right? But he hits 5 targets. So whereas this one can hit a maximum multi-target of 700, Lubu can hit 12. This is better in a 1v1 by about triple, but Lubu just does a whole lot more in the wide scale battles. This, though, is really important. 5% increase is going to happen before double attack. So really, you're looking at about an 8 or 9% increase from this thing here, depending on how much double attack you have. That's going to be pretty valuable for those 6 seconds. But other than that, though, his commander skill is just kind of there. Signature skill, though. Some of the things I want to get over here. First off, every 3 activations, this should activate in the same manner as King Arthur's ability. So this one here will activate 1, 2, goes on the 3rd. 1, 2, goes on the 3rd. When you go and you get his 3rd star ability, it's going to change to 1, goes on the 2nd. 1, goes on the 2nd. So every second one, you're going to get this effect. Now, the cool thing with this one here is it is a 100% chance to activate. So this is actually a lot of damage. The more accurate your signature skill gets with this one here, the more this effect happens. And this is what you really want. And this bonus effect here, by the way, can get up to like 90% if you got the scaling involved. So this, to quantify this, Lubu is incredibly powerful. Right now, he's one of the dominating forces. He is characterized by 2 things. Really high activation chance on his, because he's got triple chance to activate it. And his skills are critting, which essentially is double damage. So he's got really often activating high or decent damage skills that do double the effect, double the damage. Belisarius here is going to be one where he's characterized by really high activation chance and doing double damage essentially when it activates here. His damage will be a little less than Lubu's, but he's going to be really close. And that means you can basically run 2 Lubu's, and that's going to be really, really valuable. Really high accuracy is important, and all that double damage. So his second one, so this is the one that he's going to be running. And the reason for here is you have a 30% accurate chance, so it's going to be going fairly often, which is good, but it's also going to boost its own effect. Now, 300 there, with a 10% additional bonus, this will stack up to 40. Right, so you can see over here. Max stack is 26, and max stack at 5 is 40. So this is what you're going to run. This one here will have a 360, and that is higher initially, but it has a lower activation chance. And unlike what you might know, this one here does might damage with a might bonus, and strategy damage with a strategy bonus. This is the number one reason why. If we go back over here to his stats, his might's going to be 270. His strategy is going to be 560. You're going to get an 81% bonus and like 169. It is worth twice as much. So half of your skill is only getting half of the bonus from your stats. Whereas this one here, all of it is getting strategy bonus. So that's going to be one of the big things about why this one and not the other one. Now, that's what his things there do. Let's go over to here with the two builds. Okay, so I've got calves, which is a double calf build, and this is using MGE heroes. So keep that in mind here, is you have to be able to get the MGE hero. So Ashoka is really, really valuable. He's going to be boosting Belisarius' attack chance, or sorry, activation chance for his signature, and that is critical. You need that one over here. So if at all possible, having Ashoka, even just 1 star is great. His 5-star is really, really strong. You definitely want to get that if you can, but just getting Ashoka is really important. Now, if you can't get Ashoka and you don't have him, then running Constantine is probably going to be your second best bet. That gives you the standard thing. That'll make you more like a regular army is. Now, why does this army work better than the current one? Belisarius Hannibal. When Hannibal was your commander, he struggled to deal enough damage. He had really, really great buffs and great debuffs, actually, that could go and do a lot of damage. But he couldn't actually just do enough damage on his own as a commander. Belisarius gives you pure damage, and now Hannibal boosts his damage. This is going to be awesome. Lubu wishes he could get a Hannibal. It's so good. However, Hannibal, if you're running the two of them together, can now benefit Lubu because, it's a debuff on the enemy. Both of them can target that. So you've got him running with Ashoka and Hannibal all supporting him. You essentially have like 90% of your damage here and 90% of your damage coming out here. This is just the standard Lubu army here. So this. Now a couple of things I want to show you here. Ring of Serpent is a good one. You can go for a cheaper one because this will give Belisarius even more strategy. Preferably Radiant Guardian. You do want Radiant Guardian if it's possible. You do not need Radiant Guardian on your Lubu army, so you can put it here. Now, Ashoka, Ring of Badger, and Lofty Mountain are two good ones here. I have a special one here. This is something I just don't see people doing, but it's actually really, really important to try to go for here. If I were to, say, go over to... Okay, Skyward Knight... and say I were to compare that to, where is it? Lofty Mountain. And why not? Let's compare that over to Everflame Wing. If I were to say just going to pick level 20, okay? This is going to do burn damage, which is cool. But it's going to increase the enemy troops' strategy damage taken by just under 2% with a strategy bonus. So 2% is okay. That's at level 20, 2%. It has other effects, but the damage increase is going to be 2%. Now we have Lofty Mountain, and we'll go again to level 20. And this one's going to have two effects where it's a 5.8 or a 5.8. So this one, instead of 2%, is going to increase it by just under 6% with a strategy bonus. And your strategy is really, really high. So this is awesome. But it's after 18 seconds. Right, so this one has a delay. After the delay, almost 6% is a lot higher than the 2%. Then you've got Skyward. This one, it has two effects, or three effects technically. Reduces the hero's damage dealt. Well, when it comes to Ashoka, that's actually unfortunate. We're going to lose some damage on Ashoka, and he actually does have some damage. Okay. Increases your commander's damage by 6.67. This is just under what the other one there was. And it also increases your skill activation chance by 3%. This is ignored because you can't take advantage of it. People will see this, and this is definitely an important part. But 6.67% is over 3 times what what Everflame Wings will do. And it's all centered on the commander. So you can actually go and give him Skyward Knight, and he gets the extra 6 times that thing. I think it's going to be, actually I got it written down. Here we go. Skyward Knight is worth 13% on Ashoka. And again, over here, you've got Lofty Mountain, which is worth about 14%. And you've got Skyward Knight, which is worth 13%. Now, Lofty will affect your whole team, and Skyward will only affect your commander. But Lofty will activate after 18 seconds. Skyward Knight is active from turn 1, so it is immediately active. What this means here is if you go back up to our cavalry army, from turn 1, he can get the bonus of Lofty Mountain. Add a little bit of cost for other areas. Lofty Mountain will not activate until 18 seconds in, so it's going to be too late for most of the combat for these guys. Fights do not last very long with these calves. They either blow it up or they die real quick. So Lofty Mountain is going to be slow, but at least it gives you extra defense and stuff. It's basically Ring of Badger, Lofty Mountain, or defensive rings. Skyward Knight gives you a large chunk of extra damage to your Belisarius, and that's really, really important. So I don't see anybody running this. It's actually not a bad idea. It's a pretty good one here. This also leaves Ring of Daisy and Ring of Nightwolf, Tranquil Water, same thing. Lubu gets a special Daisy ring, which he just does amazing with. Nightwolf does amazing on the army, and Tranquil Water gives you the more defensive. This way, both armies can keep up with themselves. They both will go at the same speed. They both will do a lot of damage. They both will die about the same. It's good stuff all around. My expectation is this is going to become the meta right here. It's just going to be what the most powerful is come Season 4. So if you're going to build towards this, I can definitely help you get there. Either plan things out and whatnot. Because one thing is you have to get Belisarius, and you want to get him 5-star priority, really, really important. So the question becomes, if I go all the way down again, how many wheel spins do you have to do to try to get Belisarius up to 5 stars? I can help you plan out what it takes to go and get those ones there. But that is the big one for here. Now, you do have a pikeman, and I do have a special mixed pikeman here army as well. These ones I'll go into more in depth later on. But Belisarius, Elizabeth, and Ashoka is going to be your 3 main heroes to try to run pikemen. And I've got the special things on here for there as well, such as the Skyward Knight, but also Ring of Tulip on Elizabeth. Wait, that's supposed to be Ring of Rose. Oh, okay, so this is supposed to be Ring of Rose. I don't know why I wrote Ring of Tulip. But Mixed Pikeman has one with Octavian in it. This is a special one that I'm going to have to, it's going to require a lot of testing to see if it actually works or not. But you should be able to build a really high offensive Mixed Pikeman army here. This will be another video, though. So with that, that should be Belisarius. Next up, we'll go with Elizabeth. So Legendary Pikeman. Now, there's currently only 3 options, and 2 of them are MGE heroes. So you're going to run this thing, you basically are going to have to, be a pretty high level spender to be able to win MGE twice. This is a Wales army, basically. You could get this at a mid-spender if you're really careful, and you wait until the proper time, to get it at the very end of the season. You can do that with Ashoka, and for Elizabeth, probably a lot lower. But it's going to be hard. Now, over with this one here, Elizabeth. Okay, the first thing she's got is her commander skill. Now, she's not going to be a commander, so this doesn't actually matter much. You can go and check the stats over in the document there if you want to see more. But a couple of things with this thing here, I'm calling it damage priority for lack of a better word. And 100% chance to calculate damage against the lowest value between the enemy's might defense and strategy defense. I need to explain this part because it's in both of her commander skill and her signature skill. What this means, what this is going to do is that if you deal strategy damage, you are going to hit the enemy strategy defense on a normal. If your opponent has lower armor, you will instead use your strategy damage and hit the enemy's armor instead of strategy. You are still going to be doing a strategy damage attack. So if you had, say, like Everflame Rings, which boost the enemy's strategy damage taken, it would still affect Elizabeth. This will only change the value. Now, because all these heroes are strategy damage heroes, it's going to have the impact that it only will reduce, or sorry, it would only change from strategy to armor, not from your might damage to, strategy defense, because you just won't be doing that. So this will only impact, out of all the heroes, enemy tactician armies. Okay? If you hit enemy tactician armies, almost everyone else is roughly equal or, better armor. So only tactician enemies, which would be archers or cavalry or swordsmen, will this effect be here. It is not a big one. It's not a very important one. It is a pretty decent effect, just never going to be activated. Now, her golden age, her signature, okay, what does her assimilation effect do? Converts this percentage of the damage dealt. Well, this one here is going to go and give you kind of sort of a lifesteal effect. Basically, when your opponent loses health, you get 10% of that back as healing. How much is that worth? Well, let's go to my main account. So back over at my main account, I did some battles against some tribes here just to show. I've got one healer, so just call this a rather generic defensive one. These are level 2, so that I could get a more even result. With him I'm at 72, I did 8,000 heals. Okay? 10% if you get the assimilation bonus. So here you're going to heal about 7.2 thousand troops. So that's going to be here. You can see that it's roughly close, maybe a little bit less. Now, if you were actually to fight an enemy opponent player and not like a tribe, you're going to have around 110,000. So that means that you're going to heal something about 12,000 troops. So that's not too bad there. You're sitting at maybe an equal to a decent healer, maybe a bit more. But when it comes to the assimilation, it's not a massive heal. It's just an average one. Now let's jump back. That is what her assimilation is going to be. Now, this has an important effect, but it's not the heal. The heal is only going to be average. Now, Elizabeth does do two things. The one is that she actually gives you the heal there. But the second one here is if you go for the two-door rows, this one here is whenever your troop triggers assimilation, reduces the damage taken by 20%. That's the same thing as Peaceful Haven. Increases your commander's damage dealt by 5%. That's nice. You need to have your last hero activate assimilation for this to matter. Because if you've got 3 heroes, 1, 2, 3, and you've got the middle one who activates assimilation, it's going to boost your 3rd hero with a commander damage bonus, which is useless. You need the last one here to actually activate the commander damage, or to activate the damage to get the assimilation bonus, so that it goes back and your commander gets the effect. But you also need to be dealing damage every 1 second. Now, the problem here is if you go and, say, run Tudor Rose and Crushing Impact, which is the one I'm suggesting, you only have a 20% chance of doing damage that round, and you won't do it otherwise. So, the way that came up with her to get around that one, again, it says Ring of Tulips, it's supposed to be say Ring of Rose, is to give Elizabeth the Ring of Rose. And the reason for here is it gives you a 25% chance to deal damage. This can be one way in which you can go and give Elizabeth a additional chance of activating her assimilation effect on Elizabeth's turn. This way your commander will do damage, which he will. Elizabeth has now 2 chances to activate damage to get the assimilation effect going. And like I said here, though, you want Ashoka in 3rd and Elizabeth in 2nd, because Ashoka has better chance of activating an effect to make it so that he can actually get the effect. Yeah, so that's that one. The other thing that she does, and this is a little bit harder to see, I've written it out so that you can go here, is she'll increase your damage by 15%. 5-star goes up to 20%. She'll also increase your commander's damage skill bonus up to 10% from your at 3 stars. That only activates every second time from her assimilation. Okay, so every 2 assimilation effects. Now, this thing here is 2 assimilation effects, not activations. So if we go here again, he activates, that's 1 assimilation effect. She activates, that's 2 assimilation effects. 3, the commander's not doing damage, right? So the effect activates here. So this one kind of gets skipped. Belisarius gets the effect. Next one is going to be 1, 2, and if they both activate and do damage, Belisarius gets the effect. 1, 2, right? But if Belisarius does not, if say Elizabeth does not activate, then it's going to skip her and do 1, nothing happens, and then, 2, and then it has to wait until the next one. It will go, if both your heroes do damage, every turn this will activate. If one of your heroes does not, it's every second turn, every second cycle. So that's how that one works there, and that's important. You need both heroes doing damage consistently is important. Hence why Ring of Rose is the one that I would suggest here. Now, that said, 10% here. And this one here is going to be a 15% or 20%. How impactful are those numbers? Well, if we look over at Elizabeth's strategy thing here, she's actually got a pretty decent strategy ranking, say at 5. So 20 plus 10 is 30%, just total. I'm just adding them together. Times 1 plus 1.63. That's the number we're looking for. Okay, 78%. When these two things are active, your commander is going to get that 78% damage increase. And that's really, really huge for Belisarius to get the extra thing. This here is going to give you some defense, some healing, and it's going to give you constant damage to both of those, which is good, and bonus damage over to him once. What Elizabeth does, and it took me a while to try to figure this out, what's her value, what's her good at, what does she provide? She's invisible glue that makes everything else work. She fills in the gaps of giving you extra durability and extra damage kind of in the background, but she will not show very much stats. Her effect is not, well, it's going to be invisible. You're going to see Belisarius do really well, and you're going to see Ahsoka do decently, but hers is not going to look very much. It is, however, pretty impactful. That said, though, 3 stars is fine. You don't have to take her all the way up to 5 stars. Her 5-star is good, okay? It's going to increase the damage, and that's what you want, because this thing here is going to be worth about, what is it, 12%, 14%? So that is actually pretty good. It's what you want. This is not very, very high value. All the extra stats are really, really useful, but if I were you, the one to get Belisarius up first is absolute priority. Ahsoka 5-star would be a lot more of a next priority. Elizabeth 5 can stop at 3 stars and be fine for there, but she definitely wants her 3 stars for the extra damage increase. Okay, so that's what she's going to be. This is going to be the counter to a lot of what you see over with Belisarius and Lubu running. Very, very good in that regard. Now, there is one more, and this is an Octavian build here. This is an interesting one. I'm going to leave this for another video. Just, you've seen it here first, so to speak. But Octavian running in this army here could be a really interesting thing. I'm going to have to wait until people are able to test it to see how well it actually works. But something to keep or look forward to. So that would be the the tactician, cavalry, and pikeman. The very last one is Lagurtha. So what does she do? Well, here's her stats. She's got relatively good might. One of the things I checked, though, by the way, is that all the warrior swordsmen have very similar might, which makes them all pretty modifiable for Miyamoto's effect, because he will target the highest might. It is within close enough range that you can do that. But she's not going to be a commander, so her commander skill is whatever. She's going to ignore defense, and I can explain that one in a second. Increased activation chance is nice, and that's about it. She's got weird 50 initial, which I've never seen before. Her signature skill, though, is Valkyrie's Edge, and this thing here is a doozy. Okay, you got an activation chance. 1 star will go up. The damage is small. It's not very high damage, but she double activates herself. So when it goes off, that's closer to 410. It's actually a lot better. So that is good. The defense ignoring part affects only her signature skill, not her other skills, and no other hero. So that is important to note. it is actually pretty decent. Okay, King Arthur, he's got his Blessings of Glory state, and that's exactly what this thing is. This is one of the things that makes him so powerful. So he's going to ignore 50% armor, and that's really impactful. Lagurtha is going to ignore 10 or up to 15%. So it's this thing is really good, just a little bit smaller. Okay? Now, one of the things I need to explain here, just so that people are aware and know how this mechanic works, is this applies judgment effect. So this is an active effect from here. Okay? This is not. This is a passive effect that'll, like go and be applied all the time. Something similar over to Ram. Here would be an example of someone who has this thing. Okay? Secondary strike, a turn-based. It's going to have an effect of every 6 seconds where we do increase the attributes. Okay. It'll apply and increase the highest attribute of all allied player commanders within the area by 4. This is now a passive that's applied to them for there. You also have Octavian. Okay, turn-based. Deals damage over here. And, okay, adds 1 supreme mark every time your troop activates a signature turn-based skill or signature secondary strike. This is your entire army. This will happen regardless of whether your turn-based activates or not. It's something separate. It has a active component and a passive component. The same thing is true of here. You have an active component and a passive component. Now, the key thing here, though, is this passive component only applies once this is activated once. So the very first time this activates, this now applies and everything's good there. If you go to, say, the first 2 or 3 cycles and you don't activate over and over again, this will not activate. This never applies. So it becomes really critical to get this thing up and running as fast as you can to get the bonus effect. Now, when this one goes, there's going to be a up to 60 or 65% chance. 65% chance to give you an additional activation at a reduced damage. Okay, so this is going to apply to your commander and to Lagurtha herself, to your hero and the commander. So if Lagurtha is a secondary, whatever your commander is will get the bonus effect. So if you go into Miyamoto, he will do damage twice, or he activates and do damage twice, and then he will make the second in command activate twice as well. Now, the second activation of his damage will be reduced by 35%, but not his passive rider effect. If you've got Yodit, then Yodit will do her damage twice, the second one being reduced, but her might increase effect will go full strength. So that's what she does. Now, she's weird. This is probably the single most powerful 3rd star ability I've ever seen in the game. Okay? When Judgment is active, increases your additional activation chance by 5% and reduces damage taken by 30. Okay? This additional activation chance is this one here. So when you go and use an ability, or your commander uses an ability, the chance to get the bonus effect goes up by 5%. That's what the first piece here is. Okay? Reduces damage taken by 30%. She just gets a flat 30% damage reduction to your entire team, period. Whereas, like, Peaceful Haven, you have to actually activate the thing for plus 20. This is, like, probably the most powerful damage reduction ability of the game because it's always up and it's a solid 30%. That's amazing. Okay? But you have to activate Judgment first. If she does not activate this effect, she does not get the damage reduction. She has to use her active skill once. From that point on, she gets damage reduction, not before. So if it does not activate it right away, you're squishy. Okay? And then she gets this, when dealing defense ignoring damage, recover units equal to 30% of your damage. Defense ignoring damage only applies to her signature skill. And 30% sounds a bit big because this is essentially lifesteal, but her damage is not all that high. You will not get a huge amount. What you saw for Elizabeth will be bigger than what her thing is. She does provide some extra health and that are healing, and that's awesome. It's not a massive amount, just so you guys are aware. Mostly for the reason for that, by the way, is because her damage, at 210 is not particularly very high. So even when it's activating twice on occasion there and it goes up, which is nice, too many chances it makes the end result pretty small. So more durability, though, is nice. That's what her 3rd star does. Makes it so your bonus activation chance is increased. You just flat out take 30% less damage after Judgment activates. And, you got a heal in there as well. But, and this is going to be a key thing here, it all relies on this activating. And right now, 22%, which you can boost up to 25, and then you can also take High Spirit, okay, plus an extra 18, which puts you up to a 43%, I think is the total, is good, but if not perfect. Where you instead do 5th star, okay? So it gives you, so ignore that for a second here. This is what I want. Increases the activation chance of the first signature active skill for this hero by 60%. That's a massive increase. It means that your first one is going to go off guaranteed every fight. Instead of all of this stuff being reliant on chance of getting that first one, the 5th star makes you guaranteed to get your effect going on turn 2, which is where you want it. So this is actually a really important star because it gives you certainty and assurance of when your effects activate. So that's really, really important there. Now, she goes and gets extra defense ignore rate, which, here you go. Defense ignored, 10 to 15% is that first part. And it goes from 30 to 7 up to 40 to 80, which is good because you get that thing. Oh, I forgot to mention that. See, she's got a lot of stuff. This part here, every 3 seconds to go from 30 to 70 is 4 increases. So she has to activate her skill 4 times to hit the maximum. And that's going to take you about 12 seconds. However, you also get the double attack after the first one. So you're only going to have to go up about 3 rounds, which is about 9 seconds, to hit the maximum. That's how quickly this thing scales up. So just so you know, it will reach maximum after about 9 seconds. Okay, so that's the hero. Complicated. A lot of different mechanics here that are... Oh, yeah, that was the other one. Raging Bloodline. Reduces the critical strike damage taken by 30% for 6 seconds. That is awesome. So what this means is that Lu Bu is going to do a whole lot less damage to you. And you're going to run around and you're actually going to be able to face Lu Bu and actually, stick a giant middle finger towards him. Because basically nobody else is using critical strikes. So Mulan will get affected by this some amount. But really it's going to be Lu Bu. Here's just a giant middle finger to Lu Bu. Oh yeah, you thought you could do something to me? Minus 30% to your critical strike damage. I do not know if this applies to skills or not. Critical strike skills. But seems to. That is Lagurtha and her ability. Now I got some weird news. Bad news, weird news, yeah. Basically, we'll boil down to look at all these lovely heroes we got. That's a lot. And as you go up and up and up and up, you're going to go and say you get Trib first. Trib's the first hero you get, and you get him so far. And then Mehmed comes out. And then you go up and get him certain so far. And now we've got Lagurtha coming out. And who does she replace? What army do you run? See, this is now a big problem. Do you run Miyamoto, Lagurtha, Yodit? That's a hard choice. Okay, so that seems to be one that's really good. Do you run Yodit, Lagurtha, Trib? Right? Do you run Constantine into there? How do you balance these heroes, especially considering the fact that you've spent resources into the early ones and now you're going to require more resources, and what do you do about the previous heroes that they're already built up? Can I run 2 armies? So I've come up with, here's a decent one for if you want to take a quick screenshot, what 2 armies, double army would look like, and could be pretty decent. But I'm going to tell you here, until we get more testing done and stuff like that, trying to pin down what the single most best army is going to be an ongoing debate. I'm going to do a lot to try to figure that out, because it's important to me too. It's the armies I'm running. But this is probably going to be the best. Now, there is another one here where you can run Yodit, Lagurtha, and Trib, and that seems to be a really good runner-up, or a really good contender is the word I'm looking for. So, it is really important question, though, what hero do I replace? You should... At this point, the answer is still very, very unknown. There's a lot of debate and stuff like that. I'm going to figure that out as fast as I can, because I need to know too. When I know, I'll let you guys know better. Until then, though, here's some good suggestions here, what you can work towards. Now, the thing is, Lagurtha is going to be a wheel hero. So that thing that I showed you above about spinning the wheel, really, really important. You're going to need to know, how do I collect coins? So if I jump over to my other account, we've got the wheel up. I'm saving up for Mehmed right now. I've got 660 of these wheels saved, and I've got 997,000 coins saved. So I am saving up what I need to, and this is really important if you want to know which hero to go for. When it comes to Mehmed, do you get him or do you skip him? And then do you go Lagurtha? And if so, how high up do I go and what do I try to do? It is really important that you go and save properly for this. So if you want to know how to do that, you can definitely come and ask me. I'll help you plan out something for that. Yeah, you're going to want lots of those things here. So how many do you need and stuff like that? I'll let you know. Also, really important question, King Arthur. How does King Arthur play with Lagurtha? What army do you try to do to go and play King Arthur, and why? So here I've got Minamoto first over King Arthur first. So instead of him first, we've now got Minamoto. Why? If you go and play King Arthur and you want help trying to figure out how to plan for Lagurtha and what you're supposed to do with her, definitely I can help you with that. But you might be surprised with some of the things you see there. One thing I also wanted to just quickly point out here, these are things that I'm doing testing that I'm going to be trying to figure out. Lagurtha has quite a high potential in a mixed army. If you go and you're running Tactician, you have access to heroes like Ramses. And he is all about making his signature skill activate as often as he possibly can, because he gets the extra rage regeneration with that, and also because he can go and pop it so many times here. Lagurtha can actually make him pop it more often. So that is something that I'm going to try to check out here. And Charlemagne also makes it pop more often. But also Sun Tzu. This one here is the one that I'm personally going to be doing. Sun Tzu does a really high damage nuke, so even if it's dropped by damage from like the -35, it's still going to be decent. But it requires you activating this thing for the ultimate strategist. Every time you activate once, Lagurtha gives you a chance to get the second one automatically in ultimate strategist right there. And that's going to be a lot of damage. If you've got the second one, you activate the next, and you're in that, it'll automatically activate the next one for additional ultimate strategist damage. I still have to figure out how it plays with the charging strike. I don't know the answer to that, or charging state. But these are two of the ones that I was considering potential for Lagurtha in a mixed army. That's Lagurtha in a nutshell. More to come as we figure out more. But for now, thanks for watching, and have a good day.